So, pump and all that good stuff. Two other projects, crypto projects, I do want to talk about. One that has been pumping and an absolutely dumped today, and another one that's been pretty stagnant, but I think both of these have potential. So who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Immutable X and Polygon, who today announced a big partnership in terms of Immutable X adopting Polygon's new ZK EVM. That's really what this is about. Immutable X is a layer 2. They have their own scaling solution, and they partner with Polygon because they feel like ZK EVM is a game changer, and they want to expand their Web 3.0 gaming ecosystem. Okay, so this was hyped up a little bit. Immutable X has been going up quite a lot over the week, and today it absolutely dumped due to this, which I get and I don't get. Because honestly, if you look at this, this is a bigger win for Polygon, because Polygon has been hyping up their ZK EVM for quite some time. It's the very first solution to truly scale the virtual machine of Ethereum and make smart contract calls basically gasless and extremely fast, right? Immutable X just simply doesn't have that. A lot of other projects don't have it. So I do imagine that in the future, there will be a lot more layer 2s that will adopt ZK EVM. That's basically what this is, but people just took it as a really bad thing for Immutable X somehow. But it's really not, because I think Immutable X, they do have a large amount of games, especially NFT games, because that's what they that's kind of like their bread and butter. Immutable X has something called Immutable X, which is their kind of scaling solution, which allows them to basically mint NFTs. You could do as many millions of NFTs for free. Okay, that is their like bread and butter, and you can mint all this stuff without paying gas fees. But they don't really have a solution for scaling virtual machine, which is why they're partnering up, and now they call it Immutable ZK EVM, which is from Polygon, right? So that's why they did it. That's why they did it. But there's a ton of gamers out there. There's a ton of Web 3.0 games coming into the space. So I think both of these projects are really positioned well, especially Polygon. Polygon is one of my favorite L1, L2s out there, right? But I think Immutable X also does have potential because of the space they're in. Bitcoin usage is going up. Ordinal NFTs, very popular. So you have Magic Eden, which is one of the biggest NFT marketplaces out there for Solana, now supporting Bitcoin ordinals. Kind of interesting. Of all the NFTs they could support, now they're supporting Bitcoin NFTs. Interesting. So whether you like NFTs or not, whether you like programmable language or programmable dApps on top of Bitcoin, right? One thing's for certain, all these new innovations is bring more people into Bitcoin and into the space. And those are good things. Very good things. All right. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is this. This was brought to my attention this morning. Some of you guys may have noticed the number 6 altcoin on CMC, XRP, is pumping. And the reason for that is because of my very educational video that I rarely show, but when I do, XRP pumps up to the moon. Okay, so that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is there were some favorable, or maybe just one, I don't know how many came out today, some favorable court rulings that definitely helped Ripple in their case against Gary Gensler and the SEC. So what are those cases? One came not from today, but from before, where the judge excluded one of the witnesses, the expert witnesses from the SEC. And that guy was the one that basically established the rules on what is a security and what's not. He was brought in to say that XRP is security. Yet the judge excluded that guy. So that means the SEC has really no expert witnesses to define whether XRP is a security or not. That's number 1. That came a couple weeks ago. But today, guess what? Voyager is also helping Ripple's case because the SEC, they may have slipped up. The SEC may have slipped up big time. We know that Voyager went under. Binance.us is trying to buy Voyager, okay? And the SEC protested. They said, no, they can't buy them. And the judge asked why. And then the SEC says, that's because VGX, Voyager's old token, is a security. And we can't let Binance.us buy that security from them. And then judge is like, prove it. Prove that VGX is a security. And the SEC couldn't. They didn't make even an attempt to prove it is a security. So the judge ruled that out and said, no, that's BS. Okay, and now Ripple is using that. Because basically, if the judge presiding over the Voyager bankruptcy case said that VGX is not a security, well, then that means the SEC doesn't really have any guidelines. There's no definitive guidelines on what's a security and what's not. And this is the major thing that people are complaining about. No one knows what Gary is really looking for. He may say it's clearly written. You follow the Howey test and you can figure it out whether or not. You could come in and just register, right? But it's not that simple, and it's different for every case. And all these judges are starting to recognize the BS of the SEC. This is why people are thinking Ripple will win. And I think they will win, and it will be good for not only XRP, but for the entire crypto industry. That is what's happening. Also, what's very suspicious is the fact that the former director of the SEC, he had this interview where he concluded that both Bitcoin and Ethereum are both commodities. Now, that testimony somehow is hidden. And the SEC is trying their hardest not to make that public. It makes you wonder why. What could be said that's so damning that Ripple, or I'm sorry, the SEC doesn't want to be released? So now there are lawyers that are predicting that those documents will be available to the public. Now you figure, why would the SEC want to block this? Maybe because they don't want other crypto projects to utilize it and prove that they're non-securities. Because up until this point, this testimony has been very, very, very hard to get. Ripple had to sue the SEC or countersue to get the testimony, right? So the SEC is trying to exclude this as much as they can, even though as of right now, Ethereum is still a commodity. And Gary refuses to do anything about it. Even though he's hinting that Ethereum is security, he didn't come out and say it. According to SEC, Ethereum is still a commodity, right? And they don't want that damning testimony to come out, which will probably come out soon anyways, right? You figure, how could a ruling by the SEC can't be made publicly? How does that make sense? They're a public office, right? I mean, how could anything be excluded? It's not like it's national security. So all of these things combined is causing a lot of excitement. There are some people that think that Ripple will win this case by the end of this week. I don't know where that rumor came from, but supposedly it's being spread around, and maybe it's true. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, maybe it's next week, maybe it's next month, right? Whatever the case, you got XRP whales, the XRP army, that are stockpiling right now ahead of the ruling, which is why XRP is skyrocketing today. There you go. There you go. So we'll see. We'll see. If they win the case, it'll be absolutely huge, like I said, not only for XRP, but for the entire crypto industry, because we finally have the SEC and Gary nailed. Okay, they can't just go around bullying people and making rules as they go along, right? It doesn't work that way. We need people to defend themselves and win, and Ripple may just do that for the entire crypto industry. Would be absolutely fantastic. Cardano also went up pretty big, and I was looking at it in case you guys are wondering. It does seem like they completed some new upgrade that makes them a little bit more efficient. That's the only thing I could find. This dynamic P2P, which allows the nodes to automatically connect to and from other nodes. I guess it makes it just more efficient. That's the only thing I found. And otherwise, Cardano has just been very stagnant also. So there's that. Also, a little news about Polygon. You have a gaming giant, Nexon, that will be using Polygon for their new MapleStory Universe game. So Polygon is just on an absolute tear recently. And they're about to release their ZK EVM, which is a game changer. Even Immutable X decided to jump in on that. So good stuff for Polygon.